The phone call lasted exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds. The 3rd of March, 1961, 11:42 p.m. Illinois Gordon was whispering into the receiver, telling me they'd grabbed him outside his apartment when I heard the first gunshot. Then his scream, then Vincent Torrino's voice saying, "Tell Bumpy, this is what happens when niggers forget their place in the food chain." The line went dead. But I kept listening to the silence, knowing my best friend of 23 years was bleeding out in some warehouse, while his killers drove away. 6 days later, the streets of New York would run red with the kind of justice that makes grown men pray. They never cross the wrong family. I am Ellsworth Johnson, but Harlem calls me Bumpy, and when they murdered Illinois in front of me over the phone, they signed their own death warrant in blood and stupidity. Illinois Gordon wasn't just my lieutenant. He was my brother, my conscience, the man who'd stood beside me through every war, every victory. We'd met in 1938 when we were both young, hungry, and convinced we could change the game. Illinois got his nickname from his smooth talking and twice dangerous mind. When Dutch Schultz came for us, Illinois planned our defense. When Lucky Luciano offered partnership, Illinois negotiated our terms. More than that, Illinois understood the bigger picture. He'd been the one to convince me that we weren't just running numbers and collecting debts. We were protecting a community, providing services that legitimate businesses wouldn't offer to black folks, creating opportunities in a system designed to keep us powerless. But Illinois had one weakness. He believed in redemption, believed people could change, could be forgiven, could earn second chances. That belief had saved dozens of men over the years, turned enemies into allies, prevented wars that would have destroyed half of Harlem. It also got him killed. Vincent Torrino was supposed to be dead. Should have been dead. Would have been dead if Illinois hadn't talked me out of finishing him 2 years earlier. Torrino was a dirty cop shaking down black businesses. When I cornered him in an alley, gun pressed against his head, Illinois stopped me. "Bumpy," he'd said, "killing him makes us the same as him. Let's find another way." The other way was evidence. Illinois gathered proof of Torrino's corruption, got him suspended, demoted, transferred to Brooklyn. Illinois thought we'd solved the problem. Thought Torrino would learn his lesson, disappear into bureaucracy, fade away like a bad memory. Instead, Torrino spent 2 years planning his revenge, recruiting allies, building his own organization of corrupt cops and Italian mobsters who shared his hatred for successful black men. By March 1961, he had enough firepower to declare war on everything we'd built. The phone call came while I was working late in my office above Small's Paradise. Illinois had been investigating reports of police harassment in the 135th Street corridor, following up on complaints from business owners who said cops were demanding tribute again. "Bumpy," his voice was tense, worried. "I think we've got a problem. These aren't random shakedowns. Someone's organizing the corrupt cops, coordinating their efforts. It looks like..." The sound of car doors slamming, running footsteps, Illinois breathing hard. "They found me," he whispered. 3 cars, maybe 8 men. They're surrounding the building." "Get out of there," I said. "Back exit, fire escape, whatever it takes." "Can't, they've got all the exits covered." "Bumpy, if something happens to me..." "Nothing's happening to you. Fight your way out. I am sending backup." But I knew backup wouldn't arrive in time. Illinois was 12 blocks away, and the men surrounding him had planned this ambush perfectly. I heard the building door being kicked in, heavy footsteps on stairs. Illinois breathing, getting faster, more desperate. "They're in the building," he whispered. "Multiple floors, professional setup. Bumpy, listen to me. If this is it, if this is how it ends, I need you to know something. Taking care of this community, protecting these people, it was worth everything. Don't let my death make you forget that. Illinois, you are not dying tonight. Whatever they want, give it to them. They don't want information, brother. They want blood. Torrino wants to hurt you the only way he knows how. Through me." The footsteps were closer now. I could hear voices, men coordinating their search. 3rd floor clear, moving to the roof. "Illinois, they're coming. Hide. Find somewhere to hide." "Nowhere to hide, brother. They know exactly where I am. The door exploded inward. I heard Illinois grunt as they grabbed him, heard the phone hit the floor. But the line stayed connected. Vincent Torrino's voice came through clearly, that same Brooklyn accent that had begged for mercy 2 years earlier. Illinois Gordon, Bumpy Johnson's right hand. The man who cost me my career, Torrino. Illinois' voice was steady, defiant. I should have let Bumpy kill you when he had the chance. Yeah, you should have. But you believed in mercy, didn't you? Believed people could change. Well, here is what I changed into. The first gunshot was loud, sharp, echoing through whatever room they were in. Illinois screamed, a sound of pain and rage that cut through me like glass. That was your kneecap, Torrino said conversationally. Want to tell me where Bumpy keeps his money, his weapons, his private files? Go to hell. The second gunshot, another scream, other kneecap. We can do this all night, Illinois. Or you can make it easy on yourself. I was already moving, grabbing my coat, my gun, shouting orders to the men downstairs. But I knew it was too late. Knew Illinois was going to die before I could reach him. I am not telling you anything, Illinois said. His voice weaker now, pain making every word cost him. I figured you'd say that. See, this isn't really about information. This is about sending a message. About showing Bumpy Johnson that nobody in his organization is untouchable. That I can reach anyone, anywhere, anytime I want. Torrino paused, and when he spoke again, I knew he was talking to me. You listening? Bumpy, I know you are listening. This is what happens when niggers forget their place in the food chain. This is what happens when you humiliate a white man and think there won't be consequences. The third gunshot was different. Final. I heard Illinois' body hit the floor. The line went dead at 11:46 p.m. I sat there for 10 minutes, holding the silent phone, listening to the dial tone, my hand cramping around the receiver because I couldn't let go. Couldn't accept that the last connection to Illinois, even a dead phone line, was gone forever. 3 years of friendship, of brotherhood, of watching each other's backs, reduced to 4 minutes and 17 seconds of helpless listening, while evil men tortured the best person I'd ever known. That is when I realized I was crying. Not the kind of tears men shed in private, but the raw, ugly sobbing that comes when your world collapses and there is nobody left to be strong for. Illinois had been my conscience, my better angel, the voice that kept me human in a business that turned most men into monsters. Then I started making calls. The first call was to Willie Fish Jackson. Willie, I need every gun we have. Every man who can shoot straight, every favor we're owed. Illinois is dead and we're going to war. The second call was to Ray Kowalski, the honest cop who'd helped me before. Ray, Vincent Torrino just murdered Illinois Gordon. I need 6 days to handle this before any official investigation starts. After that, you can investigate whatever's left of the bastards who did it. Bumpy, if Torrino killed Illinois, he is planning to come for you next. This isn't over. You are right. This isn't over. It is just beginning. The third call was to Samuel Hayes, the mortician. Samuel, I am going to need you to prepare Illinois for a funeral. The best funeral Harlem has ever seen. And Samuel, make sure everyone knows when and where, everyone. Over the next 6 days, I opened my war room to the entire community. Not just my soldiers, but everyone who'd known Illinois. Everyone who understood what his murder represented. Illinois' funeral was scheduled for the 9th of March. By the 8th of March, I had 200 men ready to follow me into hell to avenge our brother. But this wasn't going to be a street war. This was going to be surgical, precise, personal. Torrino had made it personal when he forced me to listen to Illinois die, when he turned my best friend's last moments into a performance designed to break my spirit. The 9th of March, 7:30 p.m. Illinois funeral was over. 3,000 people had come, politicians who owed him favors, business owners he'd protected, children whose families he'd kept safe, mothers who'd watched their sons choose education over streets because Illinois believed in second chances. The entire community understood that we hadn't just lost a soldier. We'd lost our moral compass. After the service, after the burial, after the tears and the speeches and the promises to remember, I gathered my men at the warehouse on Lenox Avenue. Vincent Torrino thinks he won, I told them. Thinks killing Illinois has sent us a message about our place in his food chain. Tonight, we're going to send him a message about ours. Torrino was hiding in a safe house in Queens, protected by 8 corrupt cops and a handful of Italian muscle. He thought distance and firepower would keep him alive long enough to eliminate the rest of my organization. He was wrong. We hit the safe house at 2:17 a.m., 12 men, moving like shadows, using tactics Illinois had taught us. The corrupt cops folded like paper. The Italian muscle lasted longer, but not long enough. By 2:45 a.m., Vincent Torrino was alone, cowering behind a bed. The same man who'd tortured Illinois, reduced to begging for mercy he'd never shown others. Bumpy, please. We can make a deal. I can pay you. I can work for you. I can give you information about other corrupt cops, about the families I've been working with. I can give you everything. I knelt down next to him, close enough to see the fear in his eyes, the sweat streaming down his face, the way his hands shook as he realized that all his connections, all his badges, all his threats meant nothing in this moment. Vincent, I said quietly, 6 days ago you made me listen to Illinois die. You tortured him for 4 minutes and 17 seconds while I sat helpless, listening to my best friend scream. You told me this was about showing me my place. Tonight, I am going to show you yours. I pulled out my phone, dialed Illinois' mother. Mrs. Gordon, I said when she answered. I want you to listen to something. Then I held the phone close to Torrino's face and let him scream for exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds. The same amount of time Illinois had suffered. When it was over, when the warehouse was quiet except for the sound of rain on the roof, I called Ray Kowalski. Ray, you can start your investigation now. You'll find 8 corrupt cops and 3 mobsters dead in a house in Queens. The case files are on Vincent Torrino's desk along with evidence of 2 years' worth of organized harassment against Harlem businesses. What about Torrino? What about him? By morning, word had spread through every precinct, every crime family, every corner where men gathered to discuss power and consequences. Vincent Torrino had killed Illinois Gordon, and 6 days later, he and everyone who'd helped him were dead. But more than that, the story became a warning about the price of crossing certain lines, about what happened when you mistook patience for weakness, when you thought targeting one man's family or friends would go unanswered. Illinois Gordon was buried with honors, mourned by thousands, remembered as a man who'd spent his life protecting others. His funeral was attended by politicians, business leaders, ministers, and street soldiers who understood that greatness isn't measured by what you destroy, but by what you build and protect. Vincent Torrino was buried in an unmarked grave, unmourned, unremembered, except as a cautionary tale about the consequences of cruelty 6 days. That is how long it took for the streets to settle the score, for justice to find men who thought badges made them untouchable. I learned something during those 6 days. Mercy is a luxury you can afford only with people who understand what mercy means. When dealing with animals who torture innocent men for sport, mercy becomes complicity. The phone call lasted 4 minutes and 17 seconds. The war lasted 6 days. The lesson lasted forever. In Harlem, loyalty is sacred. When someone violates that sanctity, the streets don't forget. The streets settle the score.